Hey, g'day, boys and girls, Sheilas and blokes. My name is Jacob, and today on Myth Hunters, can a hammer cut a tail? I'm answering the age-old question of why do you need to sharpen your hammers? What? Okay, look, I am serious. Yes, a hammer can actually cut tails, but only under these very strict conditions I'm going to be talking about today. It's not as simple as equipping an axe-shaped hammer and going to town slamming the rear end of a monster, despite what I have led some people to believe in the past. Anyways, let's begin with the example I used in the intro of the video. This is Hammer in the spin-off MMORPG Monster Hunter Frontier. At some point during this game's 12 years of service, the devs introduced a new and also as of now exclusive armor skill called Adaptation. The skill description for this is longer than a Raviante, so I'm only going to read a small portion of it out. Feel free to pause the video to read it for yourself if you want to see the whole thing. So, when HP is 100 or over, the user's attacks will be converted to use the most efficient hit zone value type. Hunters, as you know, can have up to 150 HP, so as long as you stay above 70% health during the hunt, then you will always proc adaptation when attacking. The next part, though, is a little confusing if you're a casual to Mon Hunt. Even I am not 100% sure how it works, but regardless, I'll do my best to explain it. Every monster part has different damage resistances depending on the type of weapon being used to hit it. To better understand how this works, let's take a look at this hit zone chart for Rathian in Monster Hunter Frontier. We can see here that the cutting damage type has the highest hit zone value on the tail. With adaptation active, using a blunt or shot weapon here would deal cutting damage instead of the original weapon's damage type. Physics-wise, I don't really understand how this works, but I also don't care. I mean, I got that tail off, and that is all that matters. Adaptation works on every weapon, so you can also cut tails using the blunt attacks on Hunting Horn and the Frontier exclusive weapons Tonfa and Magnet Spike. But adaptation doesn't work both ways, so you cannot stun a monster by hitting it in the head with something like dual blades. But anyway, that's only how to cut tails using a hammer in a spin-off MMO. Can hammers cut a tail off in the main series games? Well, yes, but actually no. Ordinarily, you can't remove a monster's tail using a hammer in any main series Monster Hunter game, bar the exception of one monster. Meet the Tail Hammer Wyvern Duramboros. This is one of my favourite monsters in the series for an obvious reason, and another reason for why I like it is Duramboros is the only monster who has a carvable tail that can be removed using a hammer. A big emphasis on removed, as technically this isn't cutting a tail, rather you're only smashing the shell casing off of a Duramboros. Despite this though, it's still worthy of a mention as this is far more impressive than the standard tail breaks like on monsters such as Zemtrios or Bishaton, whose tails break but aren't carvable. Going off topic here for a minute while we're talking about the mainline games, did you know Hunting Horn can also cut tails? And no, I'm not talking about adaptation or Duramboros. The Hunting Horn, despite being known as the other blunt weapon alongside the hammer, actually has a cutting attack that can sever tails. This cutting attack is the Hilt Stab Poke. It was rather easy to use in the older games where it was a combo starter and also assigned to the special action button, whereas starting in World they changed it to a directional attack for the second hit of your combo. Sadly, this change made the poke infinitely worse to use. From my short hour or so of testing, I only managed to cut the tail off of an Odogaron, since this was the easiest monster to hit with the Hilt Stab's nerfed attack range that also wouldn't die from all the blunt strikes we were landing first to start the combo. Either way though, playing Hunting Horn to cut a tail, it's not a very optimal way to be playing Hunting Horn. Ideally, you'd want to be smashing monsters in the head to make use of the weapon's naturally high exhaust value and moderate KO potential. But more importantly than that, not spamming the one attack over and over and over again so you can actually play the weapon's signature buffs. Alright, so we're about halfway through the video now, but before moving on, I'd like to interject here by asking you all to please like, comment, and subscribe. Video engagement is crucial for smaller channels like mine to grow, so please give me a hand here. Cheers. These next two examples are from spin-off entries that, unlike the aforementioned Frontier, play nothing like the main series Monhun games. So you may or may not count these, but I personally do. First off is Monster Hunter Stories, the creature taming RPG similar to Pokemon that was so good Pokemon ripped it off. Twice. In these games, you tame and fight alongside your monsters in turn-based battles against bigger, stronger monsters. For some of these battles, you will have the option to target a specific part of a monster, such as the tail. This part targeting mechanic is a system primarily used in the sequel Wings of Ruin, so for the sake of this video, I'll be focusing primarily on that game. Stories 1 only used part targeting scarcely in certain boss fights as a mechanic to stall and inhibit monster attacks. So yeah, anyway, in Stories 2, you can use your hammer to chip away at a monster's tail break gauge. You'll find more often than not that tails have resistance to blunt damage. This is most likely to represent the fact you can't normally cut a tail with a hammer, but with enough determination and repetition, you can hammer that tail off, rewarding you with an extra item at the end of battle. I would like to point out here that even though the monster's tail says it's broken, the monster's model remains intact. This is because Stories is a kid's game. Light gore like we have in the main series won't fly with the game's targeted age rating. And finally, the last instance of hammer tail cutting I have to share today isn't even from a video game. If you're a follower of this channel, you'll likely know what I'm talking about. That's right, this is Monster Hunter World, the board game. I already have 2 videos covering this game on my channel, so if you're curious about this bizarre installment, then please check them out after this video. Links in the description. But long story short, in the board game, weapon attack cards sometimes have a symbol here that will deal 1 part damage to the monster. The part you're dealing damage to in question depends on the direction the player's miniature is facing the monster. Front on is the head, the sides are either the body or the wings, and the rear is the tail. Nowhere in the rulebook could we find anything saying the hammer can't deal part break damage to the tail. So over the course of my previous play session, my mate who was running the hammer flanked a Pookie and proceeded to cut its tail off using the exaggerated swagger of a knockout king. And with that, we're now at the end of every possible way I know of to cut a tail using a hammer. It is with great pleasure I can announce that the myth that hammers can't cut tails is officially busted. If I missed anything, be sure to let me know in the comments. And if you're someone new who started in Wilds or maybe another Monster Hunter game who clicked on this video looking for a genuine answer on how to cut a tail using a hammer, then I'm sorry, but unless you're doing any of the above things I mentioned, then you just can't. And if you're someone familiar with Monster Hunter and clicked on this video thinking I'm an absolute idiot, then I hope you found it fun and informative. Please like the video if you liked it, or dislike it if you didn't. I'm open to dialogue in the comments, and this is one of those times I really want to hear what everyone has to say. Did you know hammers can cut tails? Have you ever tried to cut a tail with a hammer? Maybe you have a friend that did? Or what is your favorite hammer? I am very keen to hear some stories. And lastly, subscribe for more content like this. Eventually. With Wilds out either tomorrow or already out depending on how long it takes me to finish this video, I'll be focusing on playing the game live on my channel and at some point making a few guides and other fun videos about Wilds before getting back to the video essay format I'm used to. Alright, that's all. Have a good one, people. Cheers.